So Mickey Spillane kind of he has what's left of it. It really falls apart like during the 50s and 60s when the mob the Italian mafia comes to their height of their power. The old boss, Eddie McGrath, he kind of realizes this. That's why he leaves New York for Florida. And the Jacob Javits Center starts being built in Hell's Kitchen. And this is when the Italians really are like, we've had enough of Mickey Spillane. We've tolerated the Irish mob for this long, but this is going to be a huge amount of money maker for us. So we want it, and we want you out. And during this time, Jimmy Coonan is also coming up. And Jimmy Coonan, he's a much younger gangster. He grew up poor in Hell's Kitchen. And back when he was a teenager, Mickey Spillane had kidnapped Jimmy Coonan's father and held him for ransom.
Did he grow up poor? Didn't they say he had like a normal background?
Or maybe, yes, I'm sorry. That's right. He didn't grow up poor.
He held on to a grudge.
Yes, he held on to
like George Bush.
But he was a psychopath.
It's like George W. Bush going after Saddam.
He held on to this grudge, and when he's a teenager, from a rooftop on Hell's Kitchen, when Mickey Spillane and his crew are down below, he fires on them with a machine gun. Nice. So Mickey Spillane puts a hit out on him. He sees two guys who he thinks are suspicious in a bar and thinks might be hitmen for Mickey Spillane. Him and a few of his friends attack the two people who weren't hitmen. They were just happened to be there. Drive them out to Queens and murder them.
Well, one of them survived.
One of them survived.
That's why he went to prison.
And Jimmy Coonan goes to prison. That's why he doesn't get life in prison.
Because he identified him.
Goes to prison. And then when Jimmy Coonan comes out, he's kind of spotted by this gangster named Roy DeMeo. And Roy DeMeo, we bring him up a lot on this podcast. He was a real psychopath. He was from Massapequa. And Roy DeMeo kind of sees Jimmy Coonan as his way in to take over the west side of Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, essentially, putting in a puppet regime. A
puppet regime, basically.
Yeah.
And he knew Jimmy Coonan had fired at Mickey Spillane with a machine gun. He knew that this was a guy who could take risks. And so Mickey Spillane, the boss, is now being attacked by this new generation of Irish gangster and Jimmy Coonan. And then the Italian mobs, with the Genovese family, who want the Jacob Javits Center. And the Genovese family kill Mickey Spillane's three highest lieutenants.
Yep.
And while all this is going on, Mickey Spillane kind of goes down to Florida and has a meeting with the old boss, Eddie McGrath, who's still alive, living down in Florida. And he's like, I need your help. I need your advice. The Italians want me out. These new gangsters want to take over Hell's Kitchen. What should I do? And Eddie McGrath is basically like, you should give up and you should move down to Florida. And if these young gangsters want to take over Hell's Kitchen, let them do it. Why not? There's no need for an Irish mob anymore.
Essentially, it's a losing battle.
It's a losing battle, and the age of the gangster is over.
Well, and the problem is the Italian problem is they had set it up as essentially a career trajectory.
Yes.
Where it's if you were Italian and you grew up, it was literally it wasn't legit. That's the whole point. But it was a career path for kids in fucking Bensonhurst and in other shit where they're not seeing other opportunities. There were other opportunities, but if you had a handful of kids, it was basically a guarantee that half of them were going to go to organized crime.
Yeah. Well, there was, you look at the later gangsters of like the late 80s and early 90s who joined the Italian mob, it was just like, yeah, I went to college for 2 years and then I dropped out and decided to go into the mob.
Your neighbor is in it that you grew up with, who, you know, your next door neighbor who you played catch with, you know, is in it. Your dad's in it. All your uncles. I mean, it's like, you know, anybody would do that. That's why you kind of, you know, honestly feel bad for some of them, where it's like almost you know what I'm saying? Like they did bad shit, but like it's not like you went out of your way necessarily. It's like it was fucking everywhere.
Well, and that's exactly why in the late 70s, since the Irish didn't have that structure that you can pass on from generation to generation, the people who were joining the Irish mob as criminals just would have been nut jobs who would have been criminals anyway.
Exactly. It's like a fucking like walking into traffic on fire. Like there's no reason to do that. There's not even you're like, what are you going up against? You're either like going up against, you know, the Italians, or you're going to go to jail, or you're going to get killed, or like you're just dealing. That's why you have Jimmy Coonan, who's a fucking nut job.
But so Jimmy Coonan is, and that's the first kind of act of like when people realize like this guy is kind of crazy, is that Mickey Spillane was going to give him everything. He had moved out of Hell's Kitchen. He wasn't living there anymore. He was kind of liquidating all of his assets, getting his money out. And the plan was like, I'm going to let the Jimmy Coonan and his gang have Hell's Kitchen. I'm going to take whatever money I can, and I'm going to leave.
Essentially
retired. And Mickey Spillane was still liked in the Hell's Kitchen area.
Yeah, I mean, he was very much like a politician in the sense that he was, you know, he didn't do wrong by people.
And he was married to Maureen McManus, who the McManus family of Hell's Kitchen was very close to the like Democratic Club.
Yeah.
And they basically ran the Democratic Club in Hell's Kitchen, the McManuses, who we are not related to. So he was liked in the area. So you have like this well-liked guy who's not a threat to you, who is retiring, who's letting you have anything, and he thinks, I'm going to kill this guy anyway.
Okay, and how much of that was like because of what happened to his father?
True. But I have this grudge from when I was a teenager where you kidnapped my father and beat him up. Yeah, so I'm going to kill you anyway.
And if you're the type of person...
That's a good point. That is a good point.
That's why I made the joke about George W. Bush. Like, you know, that's the whole joke, right? Like,
right.
You know, of course, we went to Iraq for oil. Everybody knows that. But like, there was that hanging in the distance where it was like supposedly Saddam Hussein tried to kill George Bush. I don't even know if that's to me. That doesn't even sound like possible. Like,
I don't think. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I know that there was the joke. Like, obviously, there was the Dave Chappelle joke. When they have Dave Chappelle playing George Bush, and he's like, honestly, the guy tried to kill my father. And I don't know. I mean, if you're a psychopath and you just take that.
If someone tried to kill my dad, I'd probably
that's true.
Try to kill them.
That's true.
You know, which is like not what you should do, but it's probably what I would do. I don't want to be in that position. Obviously,
I don't want to be in that.
I don't want to find myself in that position. Shout out to Brian McManus, keeping things on the up and up.